Hello all, my name is Rishabh. I've been into IT from last 7 years. From last 4 years, I've been working onto the cloud platforms in which involves your AWS, Google, Azure. So in during this, as per my IT experiences, my role is more of a solution architect and deploying the applications on the cloud platform, where we migrate the application from the on-prem to the cloud, or we deploy or create the new applications itself into the cloud infrastructure itself using various other services that are provided by different cloud providers. So in today's session, we'll be learning about VPC, what is a VPC, how a VPC works. So this is VPC is related to an AWS, that is Amazon Cloud, and we'll be seeing how all those resources inside the VPCs are created, or what is the major purpose of using the VPC. So before getting started about exactly what VPC is, and we just need to have a basic introduction to networking as well. So as you can say, when we talk about network, it comprises of always two things: the IPs and the protocols. So first we'll be discussing about the IPs. So if I talk about an IP, we have two types of IP, the public IP and the private IP. So public IP is that IP that we use while we are browsing over the internet, or when we are browsing over the internet, our presence over the internet is maintained by that IP. So if I go to right now, if I go to Google and look for my IP, so this right now on the screen that you see is a public IP, and this IP, when I'll be browsing throughout my internet, I will be identified using this IP. So now this IP is provided by my ISP, that is my internet service provider, and this IP keeps on changing as and of I connect with my internet. So if I disconnect from my internet and reconnect, this IP can be changed. Coming back to the private IP, private IP is used when we are communicating inside a network. It can be your intranet, it could be your LAN, it could be your WAN. Anything when you're connecting in a closed network or interacting in a closed network, then it is the private IP being utilized. So if I want to see what is my private IP, I need to open my CMD, that is your command prompt. Sorry. And over the command prompt, I just need to write ipconfig. So over here you see I'm connected by a wireless adapter, and it shows me the IP, that is IPv4 address and IPv6 address. So this is the IP of my private IP of my system, that is it is the IP of the network to which I'm connected to. So when there are multiple devices that are connected in my network, I need to communicate them using this private IP. Okay, so just to classify the IPs, so we have the, if we classify the public IP can be classified into 5 classes: class A, B, C, D, and E. So if I start about how the IP is formed, so we know that any IP is represented in the form of x dot x dot x dot x, and IPv4 is of 32 bit. That means if I say every x value can be of 8 bit, and value of 1 bit can be either 1 or 0 as digital. So if I say that if all the values of 8 values are 0, that means it will be 0, and if all the values are 1, it will combine to 255, because as per the binary calculation we represent the first place as 1, second as 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and 128. That means if all the values are 1, I will add up 128 plus 64 plus 32 plus 16 plus 8 plus 4 plus 2 and plus 1. That comprises of 255. That means the minimum value of any x can be 0, and maximum it can go up to 255. That means if I combine together all the values, so IP would be going from 0.0.0 to 255.255.255.255. 255. Now, this range from 0 to 255 has been classified into 5 classes. So, coming back to the class distribution, here the class A has been starting from 1 and goes up to 126. That means starts from 1.0.0.0 and it goes through 126.255.255.255. Class B stands from 128 and goes up to 191. Class C from 192 to 223. Class D from 224 to 239, and Class E from 240 to 254. Now, if we see in our daily usage, only class A, B, C are available for public. Rest of the classes are there that are class D and E are just blocked, reserved for your military research and your broadcasting purposes. So none of your ISP will be providing you the IP from class C or D. If I see my IP, it says 1 to 2. That means it's belong to the class A range. Correct? Now you must be wondering that all the IPs, if you say that class B is ending from 191 and is starting from 192, but in case of class A we have 126 and class B starts from 128. So where does the 127 IP is being used? So the 127th IP is the loopback IP or the local host IP. If you remember, when you're trying to connect with your own system, where you try to see your browser or anything, you type localhost. So in the backend, that is the 127 IP, that is 127.0.0.1, that is being used as a localhost or loopback IP to connect your machine to yourself. Similarly, now private classes can also be defined into three classes. Private IPs can also be defined into three classes: class A, class B, and class C. So we have class A as 10.0.0.0. Class B starts from 172.16.0.0 and goes up to 172.31.0.0, and class C goes from 192 to 168.0.0. So these IP ranges has been fixed. So whenever you have to use or create your own network, you are bound to use these IPs only. So when we'll be creating a network in AWS, when we'll be creating our own VPC, we'll be having this class A and B and C over here. Okay. So this is just a basic introduction about what an IP is, how it is used. Now coming back to your VPC, that is your virtual private cloud. So inside a cloud environment, we will be creating our resources like EC2s, load balancer, databases, or any kind of resource. I want that those resources should be present or should be accessible to the people who are working in my network only. For example, we all work in an organizations, and the data or the features or the web applications in our organizations are only accessible when we are connected to our organization network. Similarly, I want when all the resources that I have created inside my VPC should be accessible to a particular network that has been designed and managed by me. So that's why we have a virtual private cloud. It is a temporary, it's a virtual space or a virtual network in which all the rules, all the configurations will be laid down by me, and I will be configuring how the resources will be connecting to one another. Clear? So let's move ahead to the hands-on. So first I will be logging into my AWS console. So under my AWS console, under the services, I can look for my VPC. And under the VPC section, you'll see a VPC has been already being created. So this VPC we have not created. This VPC has been created by the AWS itself. how we can find out? If we scroll towards the right, we can see under the default VPC it's shown yes. That means this VPC has been created by AWS. So I have renamed this VPC as do not edit or delete, because for other services we mostly uses our default VPC. So I don't want to delete or make any configuration changes. So I have just named it to do not edit or delete. Now, first what I need to create my own VPC. So I'll click on create VPC, and under the name I will be giving the name, that is, I said my custom VPC. It could be any name that you want. It is completely on you. Now it's asking for IPv4 CIDR block. So now what is this IPv4 CIDR block? So the CIDR stands for classless inter-domain routing. So if we go back to our private IP addresses, we have seen that the private IP range is 10.0.0.0 and goes up to 10.255.255.255. So if you see, this is a very big range, and it is very difficult to express or tell the what are the how many number of IPs will be there. So to shorten this, we have a CIDR representation of each block. So how we work with the CIDR block? Let's go and find out. So if I say, if I consider my range 10.0.0.0, and it goes up to 10.255.255.255. So I see one thing, that in my IP, the 10 segment or the 10 block is fixed. Rest the values of all the three quadrants, that is 0, all the three sections, that is 0, has been changing from and is being varying from 0 to 255. It can be any value between it. So if I need to express it in the CIDR block range, I will express it in the form of the IP, that is starting IP, that is 10.0.0 slash the fixed number of bits in my IP, that is slash 8. How? Because if I represent 10 in my binary form, let me copy this. This is our binary form. So if I represent 10 in my binary form, it will be represented something like 128 will be 0, 64 0, 32 0, 16 0, 8 value will be 1, 4 will be 0, 2 1, and this 0. So this is the binary representation of 10. So if you see, all these 8 values will be fixed if I represent any IP between this range, that is between 10.0.0 till 10.255.255.255. All the IPs will be same. All the 10 the representation of 10 will be same. That means these 8 bits is fixed. So we, after the slash, we always represent the number of bits that are fixed. So now if I want to identify what are the total number of IPs in this block, it will be, I know that we have total 32 bit, and out of this 32 bit, 8 bit is fixed. That leaves me to 24. Correct. So now I know that the value of the IP can be, the bits value can be either 1 or 0. That means if I do 2 key power 2 raised to the power 24 will give me the total number of IPs in this block. So this representation is known as the CIDR representation or CIDR block, that is classless inter-domain routing, where just looking at this number I can identify what will be the total number of IPs in my network. So coming back to our VPC, so if I say 10.0.0.0 slash 8, that is the CIDR block. Now, okay, we have to give slash 16 over here. So if I say slash 16, that means now I am doing slash 16. That means I am blocking two of the segments. That means I am reserving 10 segment as well as I am reserving the 0th segment. So the value of this IP will be starting from 10.0.0.0.0 and it will be going up to 10.0.255.255. That means these two 8 bits of 10 and 8 bits of 0 has been fixed and remaining bits will be changed. Okay, so the total number of IPs will be again 32 minus 16 equals to 16. Now if I do 2 raised to the power 16 will be the total number of IPs in my network. So I have represented 10.0.0.0/16. Moving ahead, I have the IPv4. In this this is IPv6. So now why we required IPv6? As IPv4 has been used for past so many years, it has been now the IPs being available is being reduced. So to increase the public IPs and the private IPs, we have the IPv6 block also. So as IPv4 block is 32-bit, IP.
This conference will now be recorded.
So now moving ahead, if we want, we can identify or we can specify the IPv6 block also. If we want to use the IPv6 block, and then we have the tenancy that will be keeping as the default. Now as soon as I create a VPC has been created for me. So if I go, so in my account now I will be showing two VPCs, my custom VPC, and if I scroll right, it is not the default VPC that I have. So yes, this is the custom VPC that has been created by me. So if I open the, so now what we have done, so I have created a network or a VPC for me, that is all the applications that will be created inside will be having this. And what is the range of my VPC? The VPC range is 10.0.0.0/16. Correct? So now what I need to divide or create sub networks in my VPC. Now why we require sub networks? As this is a whole network range belonging to my organizations. So it can happen that in my organization I have various departments and I need to separate those departments from one another, or I need to make different networks for different kind of applications. Maybe some application data I want to share on internet, or some application data I just keep limited to me. So for that reason I need to divide my main network or into my sub networks, or that we call as subnets. So what we'll be doing it, we'll be dividing our VPC into different networks. So let's say I am dividing into I'm dividing my VPC into, for the time being, I dividing into two subnets. Let's say subnet A and subnet B. Okay. So as these networks are a part of my main network, so the IP range that I will be giving will be a part of that. So let's say now I have the VPC created. Now this VPC does not have subnets. How can I identify? On the left side, if I see subnets, let me open in a new tab. So I have subnets created. So these subnets, if you see, these subnets belong to the default VPC, correct? If you see over here, the VPC, it says Do not edit or delete. That is the default VPC. So if I need to create my own subnets that belongs to my VPC, I click on create subnet. I give the subnet name. Let's say subnet A. Again, it could be any name. Now it will be asking me for the VPC. I selected my custom VPC. Now here I need to specify the availability zone or the AZ. So as all the resources will be created inside my subnet, like my EC2 and all, and these resources will be created in some data centers in AWS, and we know that the what are AZs, these are the data centers of AWS. So I can select any of the AZ that I want, or I can keep it as no preference. In that, AWS will randomly assign any of the subnet to any of the AZ to my subnet. Let's say I selected subnet A. Now it's asking me the IPv4 block again. So now this IPv4 block is the block that will be the range of my block of my subnet. That means how will my what will be the range of my subnet, how will they be connected to the subnet. So now first of all it should be in the same range. So I said 10.0.1.0/24. That means now what I am doing in my subnet A, I have 10.0, that is the part of my VPC, and instead of 0.0 I'm creating a one more inside that, that is 1.0/24. That will give me the number of IPs in my subnet. So I click. Now a subnet has been created, a subnet A has been created, that is the part of my VPC. So just for the filtering purpose, I'll copy this and paste it over here so that I will have the list of only of my subnets. Similarly, now I'll create another subnet, a subnet B inside my VPC. So it will be subnet, and I will name it as subnet B. Subnet B. Again, it will be the part of my VPC only. So I will be keeping the VPC as my custom VPC, and availability zone can be B. Again, it could be any availability zone, but if I want, I just want to make sure that both of my subnets are different availability zones, so that the multi-AZ or high availability concept of my AWS or cloud environment has been maintained. So now again it's asking for the CIDR block of this VPC. So I said 10.0.2.0/24. That means there 1.0 was there, so I created a separate subnet with this IP range. So now I have two subnets, that subnet A and B. So now these subnets or the resources that will be created inside the subnets will have to have internet access, correct? So similar way that we have our routers in our home, and in that router we have a WAN port where the wire from our internet provider or from my ISP comes and we attach to our internet. In the same way, when if I want to give my subnets and internet connectivity, I will be giving it in the with the help of a service or a gateway called as IGW, that is known as an internet gateway we have. So we have IGW, that is called as internet gateway. With the help of IGW, I will be giving the internet flow to my subnets or to my resources inside my subnets. So now if I see on the right side, I could see a internet gateway option over here. If I click open in a new tab, now again I could see a internet gateway being created. Again, it is not the internet gateway that is being created for my VPC, it is for the default VPC. So if I click on create, I said my IGW. It could be any name as per your requirement. I can create. So now the IGW has been created, but it's in the detached state. So I need to attach it to my VPC. If I click on attach to the VPC and if I select, so it's showing me only my VPC name, because one IGW can be attached to one VPC and one VPC has only one IGW. It's a one-to-one mapping. You cannot have a VPC with two IGWs, or you cannot use one IGW to connect to two VPCs. So now, given this, as soon as I connected or attached it to my VPC, now there has been established of internet between my VPC and IGW. Now I need to connect or flow that the traffic from my IGW or my subnet should access internet in these subnets also. So for that we have route tables. So what are route tables? Route tables are the tables or the services that helps you to provide the flow of your traffic inside your network. That means you can consider in a very basic example that we have roads, we have path that helps us to go from our source to our destination. Similarly, these route tables help our traffic to go from our source to our destination. If we have not defined the path of our traffic from where our data will be flowing, or our information will be flowing from one point to another, we will not be able to connect or make the traffic flow. So if I go to my route tables, now I could see there are two route tables. If I scroll, if I see, yes, one route table belong to the default VPC, but there is also a route table that has been created for my VPC, that is my custom VPC. So whenever we create a VPC, a route table is created by default, and this route table is known as the main route table. And as all the subnets that we create are automatically attached to this route table, that means they are explicitly attached to this route table even without us attaching to them. That means if I select this route table and go under subnet association and click on edit, so I see I have subnet A and B with the IPv4 CIDR, and now they have been attached automatically to the route table, that is the main route table. So AWS automatically assigns your it will automatically assigns your subnets to the default route table. But if you want, you can create your own route table also. Let's say I create my RT, select a VPC and create it. So now a custom route table has been created by me, and if I want to attach any subnets, I can click on it and choose it, and that particular subnet will be attached with my custom route table also. And how it is, we know that is a custom. If we see under the main, it says no, that is, this is not the main route table, it is the custom route table that we have created. So right now, as we saw that all the data, all the servers has the all the subnets that I have created have been connected to this main route table. Now to identify the root of these subnets, that means how the resources inside these subnets will have the internet access, I need to define the roots. So if I go to the root section and click on edit root, I could see a basic default rule is being added, and that under the destination it says 10.0.0/16. That means the IP of my VPC or the range of my VPC. That means by default, all the subnets that are created are can communicate among each other, because all the resources among on those resources can communicate because they are the part of the same network. As we discussed in earlier, that yes, if we want to connect with any of the resources that belongs to my network, I can connect using the private IP, and that rule has been by default added by the AWS for us. I cannot even remove that rule. There is no option to delete it.
Now I want that all the subnets that are attached to this route table should have internet connectivity. So right now both my subnets are attached to this main route table, and I know from where the internet will come. It will come from the IGW. So under internet gateway, I'll select my IGW, and as we need to connect to internet, so we need to give the destination as 0.0.0.0/0. That means anything. That means this suggests that any IP over the internet I can connect, because when I'm connecting to internet, I don't know what all resources or from where, what all destination I need to connect. So I will give 0.0. That means any IP that I want to connect will be connected. So now I have attached the root. That means now this IGW will have the access to my both the subnets. That is my subnet A and subnet B has internet access now. Because of the route table, we have attached a route table to these subnets. So these subnets are a part of a route table. Correct? These are the part of a route table, that is the main route table. And what we have done, we have provided internet access to this route table. That means now this all the subnets will have the internet access. That means if I go and I try to create an EC2 server inside my VPC, inside my subnet A and inside my subnet B, it will help me. These EC2 servers will have a internet access and we can connect or we can download anything on these because there is an internet connectivity over there. So as my routes has been defined, so now if I go to EC2 and now what I'll do, I'll try to create a server. So we'll launch an instance. We'll take a basic Linux instance. It will be a T2 micro instance with basic configurations. Over here in the network section, I need to select my custom VPC because by default the default VPC has been selected. I'll select the custom VPC, and here I can select any of the subnets. I can select subnet A or subnet B, and then I can say I need a public IP of my server, so I will say enable, because I need to connect to this server using my putty or my any of this terminal. So I need a public IP. So I click on next. This is the basic storage, tags, security groups. Under the security group, I'll create a security group that allows me to connect on port 22, as we will be accessing this server remotely on the SSH port. It's a Linux server, so we need to access it on SSH that works on port 20. And under the source, we will be passing anywhere. That means anywhere from the world I can access this server. Review and launch, and at the time of launching it's asking me for a key pair. I said okay, I'll provide the key pair. I already have this key pair with me, so I launch this instance. Now my server is being launched. It is launched in US East 1B, and I can see under the description section it is the part of my custom VPC. It is the part of my subnet B. Correct? So once this server is created, we will be logging into this server. We'll try to download something. We'll try to update this server, and we will be able to do that. Then what we'll do, we'll remove the connection in our root tables, and we'll again try to access or have access to that server. In that case, we won't be able to access that server because internet connectivity to that server will be removed. So let's wait for this server to get started. Okay, it's running now. Let me copy the IP. I'll open my putty. I'll paste the IP of my server under SSH auth. I'll browse my key, that my key is the PPK file, and I open it. Now, yes, it's asking me for a login name, that is EC2-user. And now I'm into my server. So as this server is newly created, it is asking me for sudo yum update. That means all the packages inside my server, just like our Windows gets updated from time to time, similarly our Linux server also needs to update the packages and the kernel level services. So for that we will use the command sudo yum update. Now as soon as I hit enter, see it said that these are the packages that need to be downloaded. I said yes, and now these packages have been downloaded. That means this server has internet connectivity. That's why it was able to download. Okay, let's try to do one more thing. Let's try to do ping www.google.com. See, we are able to ping www.google.com. That means my server has internet connectivity. It can reach to any of the thing over the internet. Now, if I stop this, and now if I go back to my VPC, or I go back to my route table, and let me remove this rule where I have mentioned IGW, and if I save it, now if I go back to my putty and try to access internet or try to do a ping over here, I will not be. In fact, I am not able to type to putty also. That means the connection, my remote connection with this server has been broke. If I try to reestablish the connection, let me minimize it. If I open another putty window, I'll copy the IP, I'll paste it, I'll do the auth, I'll provide the key, open. See, I'm not even able to connect to that server because that server does not have internet access, and I am on a different network, and that server is into AWS environment. I need to access it remotely. When I'm accessing it remotely, there should be internet connectivity on that server. It says network timed out. That means that server does not have any internet connectivity within itself. I'm not able to connect because I have deleted the IGW rule. I have break the connectivity under the route table. That means this route table does not have, there's no path where the internet have the services or the resources in those subnets have internet connectivity, and that rule has been broken. So this way you can create your VPC. You can create your multiple subnets inside your VPC. You can attach the IGW to your VPC for internet access, and the destination will be always will be 0.0/0 because anywhere, and this way all the subnets that are created inside your VPC and are attached to this route table will have the internet connectivity. Thank you.